My name is Iris, and I'm currently a mom to Hannah and a wife to Daniel, and we have a baby along the way. I'm also a operating room nurse, and I love just seeing all the gnarly surgeries at work every day.
My name's Sam. For those of you that care, I'm a type 8 on the Enneagram. I'm ENTJ, passionate about winning. Currently, I am married to a lovely wife, and I am also an entrepreneur with a boba shop called Boba Shark.
My name is Frances. I'm a creative multi-hyphenate entrepreneur. I am newly married, and I am passionate about traveling, my dog Willow, and pruning my rose bushes right now.
Welcome to another episode with us. We had such a good time last time with Roslyn and Howard and talking about singleness. So today we thought we would flip the script completely and we're going to talk about dating today. So it's just going to be a really casual conversation. We're going to kind of share stories of our experiences and also maybe share tips with one another about what our journey might look like if we were dating. So the first question I want to ask is, I think, dating is kind of it's a technique, right? So if you like somebody, what has been your experience in letting somebody know that you like them? Because that's how you start dating. So how do you begin the journey?
It's tough. I don't know. I think for me, it's always just find an excuse to have a conversation, and then more conversations, and then go from there. And then I always ask, what are the 3 questions that I asked? It was always what's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? And what do you look for in a car? And it's just it's super easy because someone said at some point there's psychological reasonings for your answers. I think your favorite color is what other people think of you, the reasoning for it. The animal is what you think of yourself, and the car is what you look for in a significant other. Mm-hmm. So I'm all right, if I fit whatever this girl's looking for in a car, maybe it'll work. But then most females don't care about cars, so there's a reliable one, and I'm I'm reliable. That could be me.
That's hilarious. I've never heard of that.
Wait. Sam definitely does that outside of dating context too, because he asked me those 3 questions pretty early on, and I answered for the car. I feel, oh my goodness, I answered a cute butt. So
cute butt.
I think it's just it's a very icebreaker, easy to answer question, but right, I think just going back to the whole, as long as I can find different ways to talk to someone I may be interested in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about the rest of you?
I feel conversation too. I think that was you're showing interest, that you're interested in hearing what they want to say. I feel everybody wants to know that somebody cares about what they say. So I feel if I can show them that I'm interested, then that's a good way to show them that I'm interested in you, essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also shared activities for that, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's a lot of times conversation, when you're shy or whatever, it only gets to a certain point, but it's if we can do an activity together, that's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you guys, Roslyn?
I think Howard and I, we're just picking up tips from the 3 married people,
Howard. I don't think I really have much of a game plan. I think I just try to talk to them and see kind of what are their passion, what are the things that they like to do on their downtime and things like that. And if I find out that there is something that we could do together, then I might suggest it. If the person enjoys hiking, I might kind of slip it in hey, I like hiking too. Let's hike together. Yeah. And if you kind of gauge it a little bit sometimes, in the beginning, maybe you don't want it to just be you and the other person. Maybe you bring a few people along, a smaller group, and then slowly transition into a one-on-one. And usually they can, take the note. They can catch on.
Yeah. So that's a good tactic to kind of do something with a group, so it doesn't make the other person maybe feel pressure, or it doesn't also put too much spotlight on that. Mm-hmm. To do a group thing and then kind of hone in.
Yes.
But I've also wondered on the flip side, if there's too much group activity and if it doesn't feel intentional enough.
Yes.
Is there confusion in those moments, or what happens?
true. I have had times where I invited someone and then a small group, but then the whole time I didn't end up talking to the other person. I was like, what's the point? What's the point?
That's true. I feel like it is kind of like there's only a certain limit of like the group hangout, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, I feel like you have intention, so I would want you just to be more upfront about it, you know, or like at least just try to like make it a little bit more like clear instead of always trying to do like a groupie thing. But yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good tactic, but it's like there's a fine line between how long do you do that group activity for? I don't know about you, Roslyn. I feel like you have feelings about this.
I do have feelings about this. I feel very lost in this respect because I'm someone who prefers one-on-ones like across the board. I don't think there's like, because I get tunnel vision. Like if I'm very interested in one person in the group, nobody else exists. And if I have to be forced to be in a group with that person, I'm just like, I feel so horrible the whole time because I'm like, everybody else annoys me because I just want them to disappear so that I can talk to the person that I want to talk to. But yeah, no, like I think for me, the hard thing is sometimes it takes people a very long time to figure out if they're interested or not. But for me, it's a pretty instant, like I can tell if I'm interested in you or not. Maybe not right away, like I like you or something, but it doesn't take a group activity for me to figure it out. Usually it's more just like, humor matters a lot to me. So when I feel like I have a clicking point with the person, they can catch my jokes, they can keep up, and we have a very similar type of vibe in that sense, then I'm automatically already interested in like, let's get to know each other better. But how do I not aggressively hunt men down that way? Yeah, so this is I have lots of feelings and lots of questions and no answers so far.
Well, I mean, even last time, right, Howard, you mentioned how I think you had some advice that it's like you want to be really intentional, but then in your experience, it was almost too intentional.
Yeah. So I have been given advice by others that they suggested to start off with a smaller group because one-on-one could be too intimidating, and so the person would normally say, "Oh, maybe not." Well, you know, they kind of usually give you a nicer answer, like, "Oh, I'm not free." And then you ask them next time, like, "Oh yeah, I'm not free." And then you kind of catch on. You're like, "Okay, I don't think this person is interested." Because usually I hear that like if the person is interested, they will like suggest a time that works for them, right? But if they don't, then you kind of like, "Oh, okay, I don't think she really wants to." But yeah, so I have been given advice that to start off in a smaller group first, yeah, before actually having a one-on-one.
That's true, because at least then you can kind of, you know, get to know each other's personalities a little bit, and then even see it even within that small group if it works, right? Because a lot of times I think attraction, you're like, you kind of like start fantasizing about what could be, what this person's like, right? But in actuality, what if this person's not even that? So like sometimes, yes, starting out as small groups, you can actually get to know people better before you could. And sometimes even in the midst of that, you're like, okay, I don't think I like you anymore. Or like, I really like you.
Yeah, I think I struggle a little bit in smaller group because I'm more like introverted. Sometimes in a small group, I feel like I kind of like become a wall. Is it they call it wallflower? You know, you kind of like blend to the background. That's usually what happens. So that's why I try to be more intentional because I'm better at one-on-one than I am in a group. But then that, you know, people tell me it's less intimidating. So that's what I would try to do from now on.
So I guess I'll toss it to the ladies. Like in Howard's case, where maybe he prefers one-on-one, but like in his experience, one-on-one is like almost too intimidating. Then what would you ladies suggest that someone in Howard's position could do?
I think I actually kind of err on the side that I actually prefer people to be more intentional, but like I think the way that it's delivered is like the key to making it successful of a communication. If I feel like this person is just like, I need you to show up to this date with me like, cause I like you. And like, then I'm like, okay, like that was a turn off. Like, I already don't like that. But I think if they ask respectfully, like, hey, truly, genuinely, I want to get to know you. And like, I think this would be like a great time to do it. I think agreed, like one-on-one is the best time to get to know somebody if you're like intentional about it. But I think it's like a vibe. I don't know, like it's just the way they communicate it. If it's like not like aggressive, like this is my goal to make you go on a date with me, versus like, hey, I genuinely from my heart want to get to know you, and like, would you be open to that? And like maybe giving me a freedom of choice in that matter, or making me feel like I have a freedom of choice. I feel like that goes a long way.
I agree. I mean, I'm somebody also that like really likes one-to-one, because I feel like in a group setting, like kind of like what Howard was saying, it's like you kind of, if I'm an introvert too, so I automatically just fade into the background and I let other people take the lead. So like I definitely like one-to-one, but I think it depends, right? Like, have you talked to this girl before you asked her out? Like that's like question number one, right?
Yes.
Like if you haven't even interacted with this girl, even in a casual conversation, and then you ask her out, of course she's gonna feel like, wait, like I don't even know you, like where is this coming from, right? And then like another step is like, instead of just being like, hey, I like you, or I'm interested, just like something super casual, like, hey, you wanna go get a bite to eat? Like just even like that. And I think that's a really good casual, like walls down approach, which like somebody like me would be like, yeah, let's do it.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And I think it's like during those instances when you can just catch them in a kind of organic moment that's created, then you know that the other person's guard's down. Like they don't even have like the questions of like, do we like each other? Is this gonna be a date? You know, it's just something casual. I think that for me, it's like the best icebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think one thing that you brought up is just like they're not so serious about it. You know, it's like, yeah, like let's go hang out. But like obviously if someone wants to hang out, that means they're probably somewhat interested in you, right? Yeah. Or really interested in you if it's a one-on-one, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think the way that you say it and the way that you convey that message of I like you can be done in so many tactful ways.
Yeah. And I think really like just to have like some conversation here and there with that person already, because I've also been in situations where it's like I know this guy's like always looking at me, and then all of a sudden if he just asked me on a date, I would be like, nah. Because it's like I already know, I'm already getting weird vibes. So if you already don't have a connection, like no. But anyway, yeah. Roslyn?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people normally will say yes if they feel like they can expect to have a good time with you. So that comes through in your asking the question too, right? If you're confident in yourself, you're like, yeah, we can have fun. And I can be sure that even if you don't like me romantically after this, it's going to be a good time. But I don't know, like if we're friends to some degree, or I know you're not a creeper, then I'd probably say yes, you know, because keep it light at that stage. Maybe all three of us are just really playful girls or something. I don't know. I feel like Howard came in being like, I've been told intentionality is bad, and all three of us are like, no, we love it.
No, I think a lot of the girls I have asked out before intentionally, I think they're not as open, I would say.
Can I ask a question? Like,
Sure.
if you were in those situations back then, right? Because now you have feedback, but like, how did you ask them out? I'm curious. With intentionality.
Let me see. I do ask them out for either coffee or dinner. There was one, so I'll just give one example. Like I invited someone for like to get milk tea. So I think we were at Fantasia, and it was a pretty good conversation. And then I told her I had a good time. And then I asked her if we could hang out again. And then she was like, I don't really see you that way. Like she already knew where I was going. She just cut me off. So that was one example. And then there were other examples where like I was more intentional. And then like I just tell them I wanted to get to know you. That usually like, I guess in the first meeting, I might say that near the end. And they would be like, they need some time to think about it, right? And then once they get some time to think about it, they would just be like, I just don't feel... Their answer is always like, I just don't feel the chemistry. Yeah. I don't feel... I mean, I don't know if that's just like an excuse most people use, but that's her excuse. So that's kind of been my experience.
Yeah, I just feel for you in those scenarios where it's like, wait, but we haven't even hung out to like establish if there is chemistry or not. And you're just... Now
exactly.
You're giving me a chance to like, explore if there's chemistry.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I do get I did get some feeling that like the person did turn me down part because the person was interested in someone else. So that kind of makes sense to me that they're like, okay, I'm interested in someone else, so I'm just gonna say no to you because they have their thoughts on someone else. So I do think I had a couple of those too. So. But I totally agree with you, like, because I always felt like the reason why I think character matters more than chemistry for me, because it's just like chemistry. I feel like is something that you can build. You could like do something that you guys enjoy together, and you could find chemistry there. Character is something that is really hard to change. You might think that the person will change, but they might never, So I always felt like character is harder to change, so I look for that, and then I look for chemistry. So that's why, I feel kind of bad when like the person doesn't even give me a chance. Is because sometimes because I care so much about chemistry, sometimes I see it the other way, where like, is my character not good enough? And is that why they tell me that? I know they say chemistry, but I feel like, yeah. So that's kind of how I think sometimes.
I mean, I feel like it is the chemist, like, honestly speaking, at that phase, there's no way they know your character. And so chemistry is just easier to pick up on. Like, I hate to put it, I've heard a lot of my guy friends tell me the way that they think about dating almost sounds like very systematic. It's like, let's just try. Let's just it's reasonable to expect the girls to at least give me 3 tries before they make a call. And I think that kind of confused me a little bit, because I'm like, 3 tries with you? When based on what? I have no reason to. Like, if you don't give me an initial reason to at least give you that time, like, it's very precious to me. I know it's precious to you too, but it's like, if you're the one seeking me out already, you probably have something to gain just by seeing me. And if we really want to think about this in a transactional business deal type of way, I have nothing. No investment in this situation.
There's
so you need to give me something, right? Oh, okay.
Free food, free drinks.
Is that how you? Okay, well,
Just give an
if
example.
that's the kind of girl you're happy with.
Wait, so I'm curious. So maybe for the guys, or like Howard and Sam, so how, I guess, how would you ideally have that situation play out? So if a girl, you ask a girl out to coffee or to dinner, how many tries do you, or how many times do you feel like is appropriate or, reasonable for you guys to hang out before she tells you she is or isn't interested?
I mean, I think at least hanging out once is, in my opinion, I don't think that's asking for too much.
Yeah.
But I think, right, based on some of the scenarios that Howard threw out, where they don't even go hang out with him.
I see.
So then it's then Howard's just kind of stuck. And so what can he do in that scenario? Because he can't convince them. They already kind of closed the door, so
right.
He can't convince them, come on, just let's just get coffee once. Or
yeah.
Then just seems really desperate.
Yeah.
Right? Please, take me.
Well, I think assuming that the girl goes for the first one, I think that for me, the closer should not be, do you want to do this again, or whatever, however you said it, because then automatically for me, somebody like me, I get really closed off and I already start feeling pressure and I'm like, no. So and I think for girls, we need that excitement and those feelings to build up. Again, speaking just for myself, that's the kind of girl I am, okay? I don't even know who I like or what I like, but I just need to be around this person. So if it was about times, I would say definitely, if the first time I'm I don't know what that was, or if it was a friend thing, or if this person's interested in me, but if they ask me out again, then I'll give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And then usually I think by the second or third, at least I'll know for myself whether I'm interested in them or if they're just a friend. But even so, just being able to keep an open door in friendship, I think is a win. Do you know what I mean? Versus just oh no, I'm not interested. So I would say maybe just be cool, that was fun, and just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. Because girls are always oh, what was that? And then when we start thinking about it, that's kind of when we start building things up inside for ourselves. Versus when we get asked the question, I think more than not, we shut it down.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, that's really
that's
good.
true.
Yeah.
That's how I am. So I don't know.
That's part of the reason why I heard not to be intentional, because you don't want them to automatically turn you down and all of a sudden their mind is fixed on no, right? So you don't be intentional, you kind of get them to think more about it.
Yeah.
So that's at least one reason that I was told.
Yeah, well, I think be intentional with actions for sure. Like if you if you like this girl or whatever, right? You know she likes these things and you plan those things, you're a winner. But I think intentionality with words is something that needs to take time, because girls get scared really easily. Again, speaking for myself.
No, I agree.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you're the reason like sitcoms always make fun or have jokes of the whole like you have to
100%.
wait 3 days before you can like ask them to like go out again, you know? And
Yeah,
then-
I know.
And there's always the like desperate Ted and like How I Met Your Mother. No, I'm texting her now, or I'm calling her now.
100%. That is totally it.
Okay, so let's
Oh
say
man.
you really don't like somebody, right? After hanging out one time or two times, like what's the best way to like tell them in a graceful or nice way that like I'm not interested? Is it like, I don't know, like what's the best way to do it?
It's not you, it's me.
You know what? I actually have used that line on my own husband before, and look where we end up now. But that's the thing, he still hangs over my head 5 years into marriage. He's like, do you remember you said that to me? And I'm like, I really meant every single word of it. It wasn't you at the time, it was me, you know?
See, so guys can also hold on grudges too, because for Esther, it was like, oh, there was someone else, and I was like, hey, I won. Like,
I know. The tune changes after you get married, but
yeah. But I don't know. I think it's always hard, and I think it really like depends on person. I mean, I'm assuming you girls have more experience doing this than us guys.
I don't know. I probably do the most immature thing, and I just slowly like ice the person out, which is like the most, what you actually should not do, because everybody like deserves like decency.
So you invented ghosting.
Yeah. Probably the epitome of ghosting. Yeah.
Because I've heard like guys like it like when girls are just like, they're like, just be straightforward with me instead of like toying with my emotions and leading
That's
me
true
on.
too.
Is that true?
That is true too. Yes.
Same
Yeah, I mean,
brother.
there was one girl that I was trying to ask out, but she kept like saying she's not free, and then it just dragged on for like weeks and even maybe like a few months, and I'm like, I kind of feel like I need to know, but because she expressed it to me like she's interested in hanging out, but we could never figure out a date to meet up, and then so I just don't know, you know.
Yeah, that I could see how that's very frustrating.
Yeah, I guess that's something that like we all need to work on, is just like mean what you say. And what does that say? It's like if you don't feel it, then don't say it, right? Because then the other person is truly like waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Roz, do you have anything to add to that?
Agreed. I practice what I preach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also, I feel like one of few people I know who is still very much so in touch and in like pretty good, strong friendships with the guys that I have turned down in the past, or guys who have turned me down. And I think it just comes down to like, do you find two parties who are willing to like prioritize keeping this friendship over, you know, like, let's get over this hump together and let's be really clear when we communicate about it. And it's worked out. I mean, some of the guys that I turned down have needed to ghost me for a while, which was fine, because literally I would like turn them down and be like, hey, I know that this is a complicated time, so whatever you need, man, I'm here for you. If you need to just not talk to me for like a year, go for it. No hard feelings. I'm still here if you want to be friends after.
Yeah, you're so mature and so nice.
You are.
Yeah. I'd be
Yeah.
like, dude, you're awkward now. That's awkward between us.
No. But the one situation that I can't really do is when the guy tells me that everything's fine and then he starts being weird. So I really do like hold them to the same standard. If you need to go away, I will not be angry at you for that. But if you tell me you're all fine and then you're still acting kind of weird towards me, either in an awkward way or in a like, I still really like you way, then I start to get a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally.
So did we reach a consensus? Is it just at least say something? Like that's
Just utter
Say
words.
something, yeah.
say something. Let them know somehow.
Yeah.
But I
Yes.
guess depends on the specific person.
Yeah. Or maybe just try to remember at least the best you can in that situation, just that they're still human, and just to be respectful as much as possible in the words that you say. I feel like I remember one person told me that. They're like, yeah, like they're still human. Like they, even though you completely have no interest in them, but they have feelings for you, and you need to honor and respect that, and like be delicate with your words and the way that you like respond back to them. And I was like, oh, that's good advice. Like, even though like in your mind you're like, I want to, you know, I really just want to shut this down and like never talk to you again. But I was like, yeah, that's true. Like they are human, and like they deserve respect as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I guess like what are some like date settings, like just between all of us, like what is like a setting that you would prefer to have like for a date? We can maybe all just share like what your ideal date setting would be. What would you do? Where would you go? What would it look and feel like? You know?
Boba is always nice because I think what I've noticed is eating meals while trying to have a conversation with someone is actually pretty hard because you do that little dance of, am I eating now or am I talking? And then I'm like, but I want to eat my food. So you need to somehow starve yourself while I finish my food, and then I'll carry the conversation.
Yeah.
But then like if it's drinks or whatever, I can just take sips, and then I think the conversation flows a little bit better. So at least earlier on, I think it definitely needs to be over drinks, whether that's like alcohol or coffee or tea, like, you know, pick your choice.
That's such a good point, because I know that all the like first dates, you know, like at least again, personally speaking for me, I get so caught up like, do I look okay? So that it's like you're trying to eat but you're not eating because you're worried about how you look while you're eating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then everything is just like so not natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good advice.
And like grabbing a drink is kind of casual. Like it gives a more casual feel, because if you're like, oh, we're eating, it's like, okay, are we going for a nice meal? Are we going for a casual meal? Like, you know, what do I order off the menu? You know, you start overthinking a little bit. But yeah, that's true. A drink is more casual, and it's like this one thing that you can focus on.
Do you two have any preferences?
I think for me, I prefer something active, either hiking, rock climbing, amusement park, something like that. I mean, I hear that. I mean, this is a little tip that I hear, is that like, you know, you take them to amusement park, you get them on the ride, it kind of gets their heart rate up. Then they look at you and they think that, oh, am I feeling something? So I hear that's a trick, but I don't know. I never tried it, so.
I love that. Me too.
Now anyone that listens to this is just gonna start taking people to roller coasters.
You're gonna have to get like a season
Wait,
pass to
COVID's
Great America
over.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you have to find someone whose heart rate will actually go up more than you. Otherwise, you're
That's
just gonna
true.
like them more.
I don't like roller coasters.
Like if you went with me, I would just be like, "This is amazing," not think about you at all. I also really like amusement parks. I've been told that it might not be the smart idea for like a first date or something, because you spend a lot of time waiting in line. But again, I love conversation. I love talking. If you can't hold a conversation with me, then maybe we're not meant to be. But at least we can ride rides that will then make me very happy. and it'll be okay, you know? You're just like, man, I'm like, am I the right person to be on this show today? Literally just like, dates, man, extra person to keep me from being bored while doing the things that I want to do.
I mean, like you said last time, right? You're very content with yourself. So like anything at this point is just some supplemental extra like benefit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I also have a really weird one. So I kind of have always wanted to go on like a first date to just go eat tacos together. Like the one thing that nobody wants to do, and I really want it to be done this way. Like I want us to go inside and I want to have a mutual agreement. We're gonna shut up, or if we talk to each other, it's gonna be about how freaking good this food is. And then we're just gonna eat. Okay, we're just gonna stuff our faces, and once we're happy and full, then we can talk.
Roslyn, let's go on a first date.
That would be ideal.
That sounds actually like kind of
let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it'd be great to like set that expectation. I mean, for me, I think I would hate it just because I'm like, oh, I gotta like use my hands, and now I gotta like go wash my hands, and like it's just messy, and like I don't look composed. And, nah, no good.
I got you. Yeah, I think what I'm looking for is someone who's like chill enough to be like, I'm all that, even as I'm freaking like I look like a mess, but I'm so confident in myself and my attractiveness that this is fine.
I mean, yeah, that's a good test.
So confident.
Very good test.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm also activity-based just because I do get very sensitive to pressure. If I even sniff out any kind of feeling, I just start getting weird. So I'm like, I need to go and do something, whether it's something that I want to do or something that's a shared discovery. I think that helps because then your mind is off the pressure and you're really just like having fun. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really during those times that you actually really figure out like, special things about the other person,
Yeah. Okay, but it's funny because you guys are talking about that. I'm like, that sounds so ideal and so good. But knowing myself, I feel like if I do it in an activity, I just get like distracted. Like, and I would totally like forget about the fact that I'm with somebody else and be like, I'm so sorry. Like, but I was having so much fun doing this activity. But I want to be like you. I was like, that makes so much sense and it's so ideal. But I'm like, I would get so distracted wherever we're at that like I would just be a horrible date,
No, but I think that's how you have fun. I think when you actually have the mindset like I'm on a date or I'm going on a date, that's when everything like usually doesn't work out.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Too much pressure on the fact that you're on a date. Yeah.
Because almost I feel like what works in relationships is compatibility and just being able to like hang out or do nothing or do whatever, right? And so it's like if you're able to do that, then you have more opportunities to like do other random things together, which then might become a relationship. So.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's very like it's a good like portrayal of like what actual relationships and life looks like.
Yeah. Like for example, I think like an easy thing is like if a guy just needs an excuse to get a girl to like go out or whatever, just to be like, hey, I need to buy something. Can you come with me and like just like help me shop for something? Yeah. Then it's like the girl's like, like let's go do that. It's like casual, right? And the guy gets to spend time with her, and it's like it's just a very organic kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's easy. Okay.
That's good. I'm like that's good notes right there.
I don't know. I might have scared Esther off then if I had done that though. It's like. What? Why are we shopping here? I like this stuff.
Shop for the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I've been like.
Why are we at Louis Vuitton?
Let me ask you guys this: in like this world that we're living in today, like, do you believe in going Dutch, or do you believe in that the guy should pay, or how? What are kind of everybody's thoughts on that?
Howard's offering free meals, free drinks. He already said that.
No, the funny thing is I always offer, but then they never take it. They always wanted to be 50-50. But then again, it's because they're not interested, so they don't want to seem like they owe me anything. But I always offer. Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually appreciate that. I think that I'm probably old school. I'm like, okay, well, if you're asking me on a date, I hope that you would at least offer. Whether I like, usually I feel like it would be my duty to at least on the first date maybe pay for it myself. But I think if you ask and you offer, I feel like that's like, it shows me like, oh, like that was very considerate or that's very generous of you to do that. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Well, if we rewind a bit, so like, right, we were kind of saying how maybe through words, like this guy hasn't technically asked you on a date. It's not like, hey, Iris, we're going on a date. It's just, let's go get coffee.
Yeah.
So does the moment he ends up offering to pay all of a sudden like change your perspective of what's happening? Because now you're like, oh, this is a date.
No, I don't think it changes the fact that like, oh, all of a sudden it like gives me like weird feelings of like romance, but I feel like it's a nice gesture in the sense that like, oh, like you like asked me on this date and then now you're taking the extra step to show your intentionality of like wanting to spend time with me and like paying for my drink so that we can hang out and like making this possible and as easy as like it can be for me. So I was like, I think it's more of like the action, like you were saying, is like super important because it kind of follows up with his words of like intentionality.
I'm gonna double down like 100%. Because I think even with my guy friends, when I go out with them, and it has nothing to do with whatever, but it's like their form of just being a gentleman. Do you know what I mean? When we're one-on-one, if it's a meal or if it's a drink, you know? And certainly, so that's on a friendship level already, but certainly, like if it's a date, whether I know it or not, like I expect 100% for the guy to pay all the time. Like, I am not even going to lift my finger for a wallet. I know that that's like very not popular with like women today and feminism. And I'm a feminist too, but I'm like, no, if you like me or you're serious about me, like you need to pay for me. But I will say this, and this kind of goes to what Howard was saying. If I'm like giving this guy a shot or whatever, I'll always let the guy pay because I'm also feeling it, right? But if the minute I know that like this is not going to work out, that's when I like take out my wallet and I'm like, I'll split this with you.
Okay, yeah.
That's my sign.
No, yeah.
Whether they know or they're not, that's like for me.
So that's how from now on we'll tell people we're not interested. Like, no, I'm that's how you know.
No, I did that. I did that twice actually. I forced my way to pay. They got mad. So. But Francis, would it be a deal breaker if they don't offer?
Yeah, the guy?
Yeah.
Like, I want it to be a situation where the check comes, you just grab it and you're ready with your card or whatever it is, you know. But that's me.
Yeah, I'm definitely that way too. And then like if they're like try to fight it, like just find a way to pay. You learn all the tricks from your Asian parents anyways. Like if it's at like a restaurant, you know, like they went to the bathroom, but hey, they like paid for the check. Like,
oh, yep.
Bathroom trick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to be careful because sometimes there are girls who are, it's not as simple as like, oh, it's because I'm telling you I like you or not. Like, they have issues, you know, that they need to work through around money, around like, I owe you this, you owe me that type of stuff. It has nothing to do with this simple date anymore. So if you have an idea that that's kind of who you're going with, then I would say don't fight for the bill, because it actually might to them feel like you're being overbearing or like you're depriving them of the ability to make their own decisions. But I am on Francis's page, but even worse, perhaps, from the guy's perspective.
How could it be worse?
Because I, like, basically, if I'm not interested in you, I will state, like, I'm down to split the bill. But if you then still say, no, let me pay, then I'll be like, okay, thank you. Like, if you offer the second time, I don't care. Like, I'm like, my hands are clean. I am not leading you on. I will always take free money.
I mean, yeah, you did mention earlier, like, you gotta feel like you're getting something out of it. So, you know, just at least a little bit in the right direction, right?
Yes. Yep, exactly. But it conveys like this person is a generous person, I think. To me, that matters a lot. Because even as a friend, like, I would hope that he's not only doing it just because he's interested in me. I kind of would hope that he's someone who would think about paying for his friends too, like Francis was saying, you know. And on the flip side, I have a lot of really generous guy friends who treat me like a princess. So I'm like, hey, if you're trying to date me and you can't even match up to a platonic friend, then no, bye.
Right. Yeah, I think for most women, and I think like we just want to know that the guy's a gentleman and generous in that way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think generous or generosity is a very attractive trait.
Yeah, and that's not just like monetary.
Yeah.
It's also gesture and everything else, you know.
Yeah.
So what are some of like, so maybe we can just share maybe about maybe successful dates that we've been on, like things that like maybe the other person has done that you liked, and also maybe like bad dates. Like everyone choose whichever one you want to share.
Wow, Howard and I can only have bad dates then.
I know.
I guess I can start. Like, I think bad dates are always, for better or for worse, they're kind of funny stories, but I think the worst dates you can be on are dates that you don't know you're on a date on. Like, I like literally, there was one time I was like, this person was like, hey, we're, you know, like a few of us are going to go to this restaurant and grab sushi together. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'll be there. And then you show up and you're like, dude, there is no one else here but me and him, you know? And I'm pretty sure like it's like the 5 people, like out of the 5 people, it couldn't have been like somebody that like all 5 couldn't show up all of a sudden, you know? So you're like, this is already walking in, you're like, this is a little freaky, a little creepy, like, you know, like this doesn't feel super safe. And that's already like not a good sign that like you're starting your date off not feeling safe.
How does that even happen though? Like
Iris just got tricked.
I I got scammed, and basically I was gullible enough to go. So yeah, that was probably, I think, till this day, like the worst date, because I'm like, I didn't even know this was a date, first of all, and then I'm like, I don't feel safe anymore, you know?
That's pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah, and so like the entire meal, I was just like a little on edge, you know? I was just like trying to eat my food as fast as I could, because I was like, I am not interested in you, never was, never even thought about it.
Now you tricked me.
Yeah, now you tricked me. It's just all bad. It's just built on lies, you know? So that's my bad story.
Definitely not a good story.
You asked for my worst date, so here we go.
No, I mean, like, if there was any chance this guy had it, just like went out the window.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I don't know. I don't have bad dates. I mean, like, I've had like nervous dates, but I don't think it was bad. I think it took forever to get Esther to hang out with me. So by the time we actually hung out, like, I was so nervous that I was physically shaking. And
No, I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. Wow.
It was ridiculous. I was like, what is happening? This is so weird. Yeah, we were like in line for boba, and then like I just felt my left leg moving. I was like, what's happening? Like, do I need to pee? No, I'm good. Like, and now I'm standing there, and then I have my hand like behind my neck like this. I'm just like, why am I standing like this? And I just became really conscious of just kind of my motions and just my posture and stuff. And then later on, I go home and I look, I'm like, what does, holding your hand behind your neck mean? And it's like, oh, this is a very protective posture. It means you're very like scared of the situation you're in and whatever. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. I was pretty frightened. But I mean, after we got ourselves, it was fine. But yeah, just waiting in line, that was terrible.
Waiting in line for boba.
Yeah, for boba.
Can I ask you a side question, just to follow up, because you pursued Esther for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
What made you have like the energy to keep pursuing and feel positive about it? You know what I mean? Like,
honestly, I'm just like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, I'm a pretty good catch. And like, does she not? Like, what is she
The immense
doing?
self-confidence.
Yeah, very self-confidence. I was like, this makes no sense. And I think part of it was just like, all right, maybe I'm just off. Like, maybe I was just off about the whole situation, and like, there is no future to this. But I need at least one like hangout to confirm. And so I was like, until I get that hangout, I'm not stopping. And so, yeah, that's kind of just how it went.
and then once you had the hangout with you guys,
For me, I was like,
you,
okay,
okay.
this is real. Like,
okay, let's keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether or not she felt it there or not. Okay.
But then, yeah, so for me, it's like I needed that first, just that first time hangout. Because then if we hung out, I was like, all right, this really sucks. Like, all right, yeah, I just had a wrong read.
Yeah.
All right, I'm good. But yeah, up to that point, it's like, I'm a good catch. No, like, we're making this happen.
Okay, then another follow-up question for you. Like, how do you pursue so hard and intently without the girl getting freaked out?
I don't know.
But still with intentionality.
I'm sure Esther freaked out. I'm sure
Okay.
if we ever talk to her about it, she's like, yeah, I don't get what Sam
We'll have
was
to have her
doing.
on.
I think it's like, I'm not saying to follow my example, because I think there's always exceptions, and like when I look back, I'm like, yeah, that maybe certain things was a bit much in terms of, let's just say, like text ratios, right? Like I'm probably texting her way more than she's like responding. In hindsight, probably should have done that. But I'm glad it worked out, thankfully. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. Just got lucky.
No, but I don't think you just got lucky. Again, immense self-confidence really matters.
That's true. Girls
Like
feel like
Sam's confidence is not a fluke. It's not because he's like arrogant and he doesn't have what it is like to back up his confidence, He's just like, yo, I'm a solid catch. And he knows that. And I think the second thing from Sam's story, I really, really appreciate that, like, Sam wasn't just looking for somebody to date. Like, he wanted Esther specifically. And I think that was very clear from his story. And I think that's something that maybe I don't see as much on the market or whatnot. Like, it means something totally different to a girl. For one, you're a good catch already, and you have all the self-confidence in the world. Like, you could go after someone else, but you've decided, like, I want this girl and I know what I want. I feel like that's probably what made Sam less creepy because, you know, because it's like, oh, this guy isn't just like desperate for something, you know, he knows what he wants and he's going after it, and he's not being pushy about it either. But it's very flattering to be like, I am that person. Like, you fixed your eyes on me and decided it's you know, you're gonna go for it. So that I do recommend people follow in this example.
Thanks for the analysis. I mean, well, I think the flip side though is like, what if a guy's just too confident and like the substance isn't there? Then what happens?
No, that's exactly what I meant. That's not confidence. That's just, you're dumb. You're not self-aware. Your confidence is a fluke, you know, it's not based on anything real. So you do need to have that confidence there. Like, it needs to be based on reality. Because I don't know, I've never seen a girl look at a competent guy and be like, oh no. like to really see his competence and then be like, yeah, I really do see it. He is everything he thinks he is.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think confidence goes a long way. And I think girls are really good at differentiating confidence versus arrogance. So like, if it's arrogance, like right away we know, we're like, forget this dude.
100%.
You know, or like not in that way, at least for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roz or Howard, do you guys have a story?
Well, like Sam, I want to say most of my date on my end, I felt like it was good. So I don't really think I had any bad date. I had a awkward date. It was a blind date. This was back in college. I met a female friend in biology class, and she just called me up out of the blue and told me that she wanted to set me up on a date with her best friend. She told me, this is her words, okay? So she was like, oh, you're one of the nicest guy I know, and I think you two are going to be good for each other, right? Or good to meet each other, right? And I'm like, okay. And then, okay, so this is her word, okay? So she added an extra description. She was telling me that all the guys wanted to get together with her for her body. That's what she said. That's not my word, but okay. So don't judge me. This was my first year as a Christian too. So when I heard that, I was like, okay. When can we meet? Okay. So when we did meet up, we had nothing in common, because I think the person that set us up, she based it on like, oh yeah, you know, she's my best friend. You're one of the nicest guy I know. Let's set you guys up. But I don't think she really understood like our interests and things like that. So it became really awkward because we tried to find something in common and we just could not. So that was I wouldn't say a bad date, but it was an awkward date.
Roz?
Man, I'm honestly, so I to this day can't really think of one time that it was like, yes, this was definitely a date. You went on a date with somebody. So can I just think through like awkward situations with the opposite gender where we were on some sort of a one-on-one?
Totally, yeah.
I will roast myself. So this one friend of mine took me out to dinner once, and I wasn't sure if it was a date or not. I don't think either of us wanted it to be a date. But there was interest on the other end, and we both knew that. So it was kind of one of those, I think we're just hanging out as friends, but you like me. So I don't know if this is a date, but I was actually kind of nervous because like on my end, it wasn't a complete, I'm not interested in you at all. So I remember doing the girl freak out thing in the beginning. Like I was calling my friend and being like, he insisted on picking me up. What if he like kidnaps me and takes me somewhere? Like, how do I know I can trust this man? It's the middle of the night and he's taking me out to dinner. So the good side of the date, I honestly thought of it was a really good experience for me. Like, I think he was a very great gentleman, very kind and accommodating. The second I saw him, I knew that he was not going to sell me off on some market. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be great. But I was such a nervous, like, I was so confused because I'm like, I don't even like you. Why am I so nervous? But weird things happen. I think the worst part was I ordered hot water, as I always do, and it came in this teapot. And the teapot came to our dinner table, and I picked it up, and I poured it, and I somehow like missed the cup and poured it all over my head.
Oh no.
But it was warm water, so he didn't know that. He thought it was hot water, you know? So I'm like, all he sees is this expressionless me. I pour water on my hand. I put the teapot down very calmly. I set everything aside and I look at him and I'm just like, let's pretend nothing happened.
He missed his chance. He should have just grabbed your hand and go, "Oh, are you okay?"
There you go, Howard.
Exactly.
If that was actually like a burn, don't grab it. I really appreciate how he handled how awkward I was, because he just kind of looked at me and was like, "Are you okay though?" Before we move on. Yeah, and I also really appreciated at the end he didn't drag it out, because I think I was scared that, you know, it would be one of those I can't leave if I wanted to. But he was really respectful of my time and was like, "Hey, I said I'd get you home by this time, so like let's go." That was really good, because it made me actually want to stay longer, but we didn't, because I went home.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I agree. I think it's maybe not bad dates, but just awkward dates, right? And I guess it's hard when there's no chemistry already and you're just like, oh, how do I like make this happen? That's always just awkward. But I think for me, it's just one that I always tell the story that like I went out with this guy and like it was maybe the second or third date. I was like really trying hard because I'm like, this guy's like good on paper, you know what I mean? He's like good looking and all of those things. I was like, but this guy's just like, just missing something, right? And like maybe it was like our second or third date, like everything I said, like he's like that I liked, he would just like agree with me. And I think that like to a certain degree that got really old, because it's like, you know, like I appreciate that you agree with me or you like the same things I like, but you can't possibly like 100% of the same things I like, right? Yeah. And then it gets to a point where it's like, can you please, like, who are you? Like have an opinion, you know? So I think that's always be yourself, you know, and just even if you like what the person likes also, maybe also like bring something new to the table so the person doesn't think you're always agreeing with them. Mm-hmm. I think that's my thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Like this was like such a fun topic, and I think everyone shares so transparently, and I think that, you know, everyone appreciates that, and we had a lot of fun. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.